Hello, everyone. It is July 15th, 2026, at time of recording. As always, I'm joined by our friend Brian.
Hey everyone, just trying to make it through to the next day, So real exciting stuff over here. But David, how are you?
Good. A spoiler alert, but England lost to Argentina today.
Boo.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time
Uh,
we had recorded, I know you're excited. Was it the US Belgium game?
yeah.
I know that didn't end well either.
Well, I don't know what happened. I mean, the Balogun reversal, like, it started this whole, it stirred up a bunch of stuff. Belgium wasn't happy. Like, well, they haven't prepared their team for having to face Balogun, but also the United States team was preparing to play without him too. So I mean, there's not really that's kind of a moot point. I get their frustrations. I mean, if the shoe was on the other foot, like yeah, the United States would have some complaints about a player being brought back that they thought was out. But outside of that, when the actual game got played, the U.S. was 11 strong. Like they just pissed down their legs. They had no heart. They, went into the tournament and they do what they typically do in CONCACAF and other in Gold Cup. Like they play really hard, control the ball, control the game against some of these smaller countries, smaller teams. Like not like any team that they think they can beat. They want to try to dominate. And in the Belgium game, they just didn't do that. To at least not in the first half. They go down a goal, like a shocking cross that came after they all stood in the box and no one wanted to head the ball away. And Tillman miraculously scores a free kick, second time in the tournament he's done that, puts him at 1-1. 20 seconds later, they concede a second one. And they're after that, I mean, they were really feeling like they were getting themselves into the game. They were feeling more comfortable being on that stage on equal footing with these opponents. And then I can't even remember it. Matt Freese, the goalkeeper, another shocker, can't clear the ball with his left foot and kicks the turf. And then they go up 3-1. I just turned the game off. But the showing from the team was just terrible. Pulisic, for what he is, what he was, he's injury prone. He's, a lot of debate on whether or not he should have kept playing. Was his injury that serious? Well, if he would have stayed on, then people would have said he should have came off because he's not at 100%. He's hurting the team. It's not really a conversation I'd like to have. I mean, if they go in playing like how they had this tournament and lose the game, then it's a different story. But I think the big takeaway from that is how they approached the game, how they were scared, what looked like they, just weren't playing cohesively, weren't playing as a team. And all in all, I mean, the most technically gifted, talented U.S. men's soccer team that I've seen our lifetimes. You used to have Dempsey, Howard, and Landon Donovan. And,
Yeah.
With a hodgepodge of some other people in there, but most of them were MLS players or they weren't playing for like top clubs or in top leagues. And now we really have that, but they just went out. They basically put themselves out of the game before they were actually able to play it, and which led to mistakes. Like that is really a big mentality thing, I think, when it comes to sports.
Yeah,
So
100%.
just disappointed, really disappointed. I thought they had something. Belgium's not the team that they were when the U.S. lost to them back in, was it 2018, 2014? They lost like 1-0. Tim Howard had, a dozen saves or something. And yeah, they just really made it so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, you put that. I guess like it sounds like I didn't watch any of the World Cup. I'm not a big soccer fan, even though I know I did grow up playing it and played in travel teams and such until I was like 13, but never really was like a fan of watching it. But do you put that like more on like the coaches or just the players themselves, or just like the whole system as a whole?
I don't think it's the coaches. I mean, they want Pochettino back, and they. I'm assuming he came in with a game plan, but I think it was, yeah, just kind of the mentality of the players. Um, it could. I mean, I could be totally wrong. I don't have a insight into the locker room or
Right, right, sure.
anything, but I think it it's kind of the what we had seen. I mean, they lost to Belgium a few months ago in a friendly. They lost to Germany in a friendly. Germany and Belgium aren't, the top teams in the tournament. When Belgium was in their golden generation with Lukaku, Hazard, De Bruyne, all still relatively young, and the U.S. lost to them 1-0, like that, says a lot more about how they managed to lose 4-1 against a significantly weaker Belgium side. So I think they, have to regroup. I think, maybe some of that gets lost because the European teams, they play in the Euros every 2 years. They have that exposure to a few of the top teams in the world outside of Argentina and Brazil, who they'll only ever see at the World Cup. But they play in those competitions. They play in leagues against those other players, regardless of if they're representing their country or their club. And like, I just, I was seeing a lot of the, like, they were playing scared, and then they're also trying to do this little like stand and just flick the ball on, like doing dummies. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like you let the ball pass through your feet to go to another player. Like, they were doing some things creatively before they had actually established themselves as a competitor in the game.
Right.
And yeah, I don't really think it was the setup. It was just a bunch of individual mistakes. I mean, they were clogging. Belgium was clogging passing lanes. Typically, if you want to do a flick on or something, like, it's not going to be as accurate as trapping the ball and turning and passing. And they snuffed that out. I mean, they were thoroughly prepared to play against the U.S. So, I mean, all credit to them. But yeah, just shocking as a fan to watch the effort that unfolded in that game. And yeah, I mean, a little bit late to the party in these opinions, but
Wow. Yeah. Fair enough.
it's, yeah, one that's going to sting for a long time. You had home field advantage, the most talented players put together on a pitch that most of them have done things in the club soccer world and have had experience in big moments. Like, it is, yeah, not great.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, that's tough. I mean, just over the last, 10 or so years, maybe even more than that, there's just a game of soccer or football around the world has really grown in the United States. I grew up in, it's always been uh, one of the first sports that I feel like every, at least in my area, every kid plays, right? And, although kind of popular sort of in like the 90s when I was growing up, and then it's really only like kind of just projected like it's I don't want to say that the US is getting quite as crazed fans as like the rest of the world, but there are people who I know who are yourself included, who are very passionate about soccer. So um it sucks, but especially losing at home, that's the worst. But I think it overall it's a good thing for the game of soccer as a whole that the United States is getting growing their piece of the into of the pie, getting bigger and bigger. So it's great to see that from a broader perspective, but obviously it sucks that they lost. So, but I think for me, again, I don't really have a stake in it or anything, but I think it's a step in the right direction. World Cup's what, every 4 years?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I mean, and if you're saying that this is probably the best roster, one of the best rosters they've had. I think they can keep refilling that stock, especially in 4 years. So, I'm excited. If I don't again have as much care for it, but always a sports fan, just kind of in general. So, um, that's cool.
yeah. I mean, they'll be back, and hopefully better. But it is, yeah, disappointing to say the least, especially since it's only every 4 years. So
Right.
a lot of the players will be back. I mean, Tim Ream's like 38 years old or something, so he won't be.
No.
But yeah, hopefully they can get Pochettino to stay. I like the style he added to the team and the attitude. I wish it just translated to each game against each opponent. But that's for them. At least they know where to go from here and how to figure that out. So, yeah, hopefully they can make a run for the next tournament, which I believe is being hosted by Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So
Yeah. Um,
that might be a fun one to go to if they don't try to gouge on prices. I was
yeah.
seeing
We're
some
like the
people.
last. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I was seeing some people like, well, the scalpers or the resellers that were trying to make a ton of money on these tickets. They probably bought them for a good amount of money, but people were ending up getting in at like pretty good seats for still a decent amount of money, like $600 or something, but like right before game time, for tickets that someone was trying to sell for probably a couple $1,000s. So it was that was kind of funny to see, but yeah, the whole ticket scalping thing is a whole other issue. Or not scalping, but reselling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole rabbit hole we can dive into. Um, but I mean, just trying to find last minute tickets if you didn't. I mean, for any event, I was looking at tickets for Ed Sheeran, who's coming here in I think like September for my wife and I, and it's like prices are astronomical. I think tickets went on sale like a year ago or in the fall maybe, and it's ridiculous. I mean, for I think it's at LCA and like lower bowl tickets where even like the LCA like nosebleeds like where you feel like you're gonna fall off or still like in like $200. So it's I mean, I guess with concerts, maybe it's a little bit different than sporting events, and I feel like those drop a little bit before day of. But yeah, just secondary prices are absurd. I mean, uh, something needs to be done about that. I feel it was like there's always some sort of congressional investigation every year into it, and then like nothing happens because of it.
Yeah, and I've maintained my opinion about it. Of go to a USL soccer game. We have DCFC here in town. Get tickets for $20, bench seating. Drinks or food or whatever is not going to cost you an arm and a leg to
Yeah,
have that experience. And as
yeah,
long as people think that they can make money off of holding on to these tickets and selling them for a ton, then they're going to do it. I've I've seen it unfortunately with some of the smaller acts that I've gone and seen where we'll get tickets at pre-sale or something like some of the acts that aren't going to sell out, like some of them won't bother trying to hold on to tickets. But other ones I've seen, we've gotten them for $40, and then people try to resell them for 120, 200. And then one of the events that I went to, I actually checked the price like in line, and it was $20. So,
Insane.
but yeah, I mean, we're at that time where everyone's trying to make money off of other people. Um,
Yeah.
you know, just there's really no consumer protection, and it's a really sad thing. Me and Brian know it a lot with video games, with the PlayStation going fully digital, even though
Yeah.
there is no guarantee, like even if you have it downloaded to your console, or that you own you bought it. But there have been stories of people having their digital media removed. I hadn't read one of the articles that I saw, just the headline for, about PlayStation removing digital media. They
Yeah.
have the right to remove games if you haven't played them in over 3 years. Like, there's a ton of stuff. And yeah, for the average everyday consumer trying to find entertainment, or trust that what you've bought is actually yours. I mean, even with the World Cup, there were stories of people on SeatGeek getting tickets and traveling all the way over here to find out that they don't have a ticket.
Oh, geez, I didn't hear that.
So I don't know the exact story with it. Maybe like some scam sites, or they thought they were on SeatGeek and they really weren't, or maybe they were purchased on SeatGeek. And um, yeah, I don't know, but it is pretty sad with the consumer stuff. But unless people flat out come out and say, I'm not buying it, until PlayStation, until Ticketmaster, until some of these scalpers or resellers or whoever like get that pain from people not wanting to pay the prices that they're trying to charge, then they're just going to continue doing it. Um, and
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to get people to get behind, But for me, I just, I don't want to continuously feed into like some of these habits that people have. Ticket resells, some of these companies going more like some anti-consumer practices. It's just not. Yeah, I just can't give into it.
Yeah, for sure. It's even, I mean, I guess to sound like the collectible, consumable media, it's like things like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. Like, I was, prior to the pandemic, before everything kind of spiked, especially for Magic and Pokemon. I mean, the prices on those all both really shot up, and like comic books, even like, there's a whole sub market for those type of collectibles, right? Like, you got TCG Player, Whatnot, eBay to a lesser extent. And there's thousands of different CCG and TCG sites that you can buy cards off of. But there's like a whole market for just the collectible side, and then, you know, card prices for, I'm speaking from experience, card prices for Magic are just through the roof. Like, there's less of an interest for what they call constructed formats, just because prices for cards are so high, and sometimes cards rotate, and sealed products not getting as opened as much, so things get even more expensive. And without getting into it, there's just like uh, a lot of, you know, I don't want to say selfish. There's a bit of selfishness right now to everything, and like, obviously, like, people want to make money, and we're in a tough spot with the economy. There's not much growth unless you're in some sort of trade. Um, so I get in, kind of having to make a living that way. But it's feels like there's people getting shot over Pokemon cards at like Walmart and Target. There's I haven't heard that happen in a while. I mean, it used to happen quite frequently with new releases. And you know um Wizards of the Coast, which is owned by Hasbro. Hasbro across the board, up until a few years ago, was losing money on pretty much all their toy divisions except for Magic, so they pretty much just wanted Wizards to just pump out everything every 2 months. Like we used to get a set every 3 months. Now they're releasing, whether it's some sort of third party market or a third party licensing set, or like a secret layer, which is kind of like a special release. They're releasing something every month. So you know just as me, as being a casual player and consumer, it's hard to keep up with all these things and all the prices of everything. And I was in the game for this for 7 years, so and it never was really at this kind of level before. And and that's just Magic, right? Like that's like probably number two as far as collectible things. Like Pokemon is just like a whole different beast. You got the original 90s cards. Those are like lock up and you can retire on type of collectible investment now. And cards that are coming out, and I just talked to a coworker. His son opened up a card that was like 8 grand or something with some sort of Gengar, and he ended up selling it to a buddy, and buddy flipped it. And who knows who has it now? But yeah, it just seems like there's, I don't know if it's FOMO that's just like a huge thing going on, or people are just really trying out to make a quick buck more now than ever. Yeah, and I know that like that hustle side, in times like this, to that's really going to be the first thing to kind of come out, like find a niche market and just kind of drive with it. So thought about getting back into it. I just don't have the liquidity right now to, and the knowledge of really without sitting down. So um to your point, it's just, yeah, it just feels like it's kind of cutthroat to be the average consumer these days.
Yeah. Anything that you want to do, hobbies, groceries, gas, um, housing. Don't even get me started on that. But
Right.
even it's called Hearthstone. I'm sure you've heard of it, but it was another one of like World of War. It was spun off, I think, from World of Warcraft, and it was a card game, but it was on your phone. You could play for free
Oh yeah,
unless you
yeah.
wanted to pay, and you could. I forget exactly what you got if you paid. Maybe like more energy to play like more matches or something.
Yeah, it was some sort of current. It was like diamonds or something. I forget the name of it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, um, but they kind of did the same thing. They retired a bunch of cards, came out with a new set of cards, and you got like dust from the cards that had been retired, and you could use that dust to get like more packs for the new cards or something. But before then, you had, you could get your credits, you could like earn the in-game currency to go on like these quests, or you could do a tournament where you like, get drafted cards or something, and then based on how well you did, you got a certain amount of rewards, and like you had the ability to do things in game to get more cards to put together a better deck. And it was a lot of fun. And yeah, they just introduced that, and I stopped playing. Um,
Yeah.
so it's been happening for quite a long time. I mean, a big shift in the gaming market was kind of like the freemium, free to play stuff. But then they realized people would pay to have, skins or battle passes or what have you. So it's kind of good for just the casual player that you can download games for free if you don't care about the skins, because that gets taken care of by anyone else that cares about things like that.
Right.
But
Right.
really just, yeah, video games, even Hollywood, kind of lost touch with that, just any real form of entertainment. We're starting to get it back. I mean, A24 has been a revelation from some of these smaller budgeted films, Obsession being one. I think it's crossed like 600 million worldwide. I think it's still in theaters. The Disney live action Moana tanked, Supergirl tanked. Like people are kind of sick of live action remakes. They're sick of superheroes. Like they want some of that substance back. And I wasn't around for the 90s. I'm sure Hollywood's kind of always had this issue. I mean, Waterworld's a good example, but yeah, we
Yeah.
don't need to see the same actors doing the same things in different sequels of the same movie where you have to be a Disney Plus subscriber to even know what the heck is going on. But they
Right.
just, yeah, the lack of touch and the lack of caring for your audience, and giving people a good um, a good value for something. Like, why are we remaking Moana as a live action film? I never understood. I don't understand live action in general.
Well, yeah, and it's like it was just like that movie came out, I think, in 2016, so it's literally 10 years old. Like, I mean, you still have a few other franchises that, like, and I agree with you. I don't think that everything that the answer should be live action everything, especially when The Rock looked absolutely terrible as Maui. Like, that costume choice was something. Um, but different story. Getting back to the topic, it's like I feel like you know us as consumers, obviously are very content driven now, and if you consume everything and anything about something, sometimes the studios are having hard time keeping up, let alone of quality. Um, but like I think for me, it's I would take quality over quantity. Like I stopped I haven't gone to the movies, and especially in the last couple of years, just because of having a kid and as just really having free time in general, as much as I wanted to. But I do make it a point to go see things like that I want to see. Like I I saw Supergirl. I mean, it was fine. It was entertaining. But I think before that was I can't even think. I did go see something else recently, but Mortal Kombat. Um, the movies that I do want to see, I make it a point to go and see. Like, I'm going to see the Odyssey. I already have my tickets booked. Like, I'm going to see it in IMAX. I may go see it again because, you know, I don't think I've ever revealed this on any podcast ever, but I saw The Dark Knight when it came out 19 times in theaters, just because like I had a lot of family members and friends who I wanted to go see it with, and even back then, 2008, like Christopher Nolan by far was my favorite director. So he still is today. I think he's one of maybe three or four people who can get away with doing something original, making it translate to the screen. Whatever your opinion is of his work, I feel like he's one of the only directors who can actually like make, in my opinion, a quality piece that's not just like a cash grab. Um, you
Cash
know,
grab.
cash grab. That should be like we should actually record like some sort of voiceover for that and just like hit it on our our what are those called in like radio world, like
The
the
soundboard.
soundboard, yeah, and maybe clapping too. That's always a good one. Anyway, but yeah, I mean Moana. There you go. Yeah, we did it. But hit me with another one. All right, this one. It's like it's like
The
Incredible
One
Hulk.
Piece is real. Can we get much higher?
Yeah. I was gonna say that started off like the end credit song for the Incredible Hulk show. I was trying to pick up a ride. Yeah, I mean, Moana was 100% a cash grab. Disney's fresh out of ideas. And look at even Marvel. I mean, they were on top of the world, and then they just they ended a story, and I think it didn't help that the pandemic happened, but they really just like floundered ever since, trying to come up with something coherent. Um, who knows what the fuck's going on with DC? I mean, Zack Snyder kicked the rock down the road, and James Gunn picked it up and he just kind of threw it down further. I don't even think he has a general idea of a story or a connected universe. The Batman getting delayed till 2028. Like, at this point, is there even a point for that movie to come out anymore? I mean, by the time it
Probably find a
releases,
different actor by the time it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because Robert Pattinson's in his 40s. I mean, or maybe
No, I'm
uh,
just meaning like it seems like they're always trying to find a different actor for the
uh,
Batman. I mean, the first one came out in what, 2024.
2022. Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, it'd be 6 years by the time the
Yeah,
sequel comes
no
out.
one's gonna care.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I mean, people's complaint was long. Okay, fine, but like, it did something that they never did with Batman before, and it was veer into his detective side, and then it was an actual genuine good, like, sort of murder mystery, and it was a great build up for a villain. Like, maybe they could have cut some parts. I don't know. I enjoy the movie. I didn't feel like it ever had a slow part, and it was very brooding, very world building. It was a great movie regardless of it just being Batman. It was like just a great world building movie. And then they came out with a Penguin in 24, 23, like soon after. And then like they don't have anything else for that for 4 fucking years. Like, DC, you can, if you're a nerd out there, you could probably argue with me, but I think DC has better properties than Marvel, but at least Marvel had the United Front. Like they knew what they were doing from 2008 till roughly 2019. But DC has, they have the holy trinity of Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, and they have managed to fuck that up not once, not twice, but 3 times now, and as far as trying to get a connected universe. So I don't get it. They have great animated movies. They have literally a backlog of almost 100 years of mythology to go back, and they just keep like floundering it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think Marvel, I mean, they just, they continued, they made it simple, it, whether or not, I mean, it was a risk to have Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, as that was like your kind of flagship movie.
oh yeah,
But they
sure.
made it simple, you know,
Right.
villain, hero. It gave, good personality, copy the personality of Iron Man to a T. And yeah, just made it, that's what kind of spun off of that. I think what DC has, I mean, the Batman kind of like the doesn't play well with others. Part of that is like trying to start from it. They hadn't really figured out Superman until the latest one that came out was pretty good. I liked it at least. But a lot of people I talk to, like, yeah, I'm not watching superhero movies. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But
Yeah, it
they,
was good aside from the depowering of Superman. But again, I get it for the story. It was a good movie overall, I thought.
yeah, but I think I feel like they just they go too in depth, or I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I just don't think a lot of like the personalities like mesh together, and they really didn't have like that idea, or maybe they did, like going into the Justice League movie, which total flop again.
Yeah,
I seriously don't know how, you know, one, Snyder was allowed to go on for so long, and James Gunn, like the movies that he has that he hasn't had, full control over, where he wasn't the writer and the director, they haven't done well. And it's
right.
kind of easy to see why,
Yeah. I
or
again,
I
I
guess
don't.
kind of easy to see, like that's the difference. Like he can't be the man in the chair. Like he needs to be hands on. There's nothing wrong with that. But you just can't expand the universe when, um, the one person that you expect to lead the charge is better suited to be, well, I guess man in the chair isn't a great term, because I mean that considered like if he was in the director's chair, but
Right.
you get my point. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, James Gunn's one of those, like him and I'm gonna screw up his name, Nick Pizzolatto, the writer slash creator of True Detective. Like, regardless of what you know think of the series as a whole, I the most critically acclaimed season was the first one, and of True Detective, that is, and he wrote that entire thing by himself for, I think it took him like 3 years or something ridiculous to write the whole script. Um, and I think there's just like guys like that who, you know, have to be in kind of full control of their property to for it to translate well. It's maybe with like someone like Aaron Sorkin, who I think he's writing and directing the new Social Network movie. I just think that his work translates better when somebody else is interpreting it. You know, just using it as an example. So I I, I think maybe James Gunn wasn't the right person to have full control over DC unless he was going to do literally everything. I know that they have their own Batman movie in the work, and I think they're doing some other things, but there's rumors that, again, I don't know if these are true, that there was two different test cuts of Superman. There's a Craig Gillespie one, and then there was a James Gunn. Neither. I think that was the one that they gave to the test people, the test audience, and like that seemed to be well received. But then Craig Gillespie wanted to have his cut, so and then even going back to Suicide Squad, like I think again, give Marvel shit all you want. Their movies generally were kind of all the same in a way. Hero villain. Some of the villains turned out translated well or better than others in this formula, but at least I guess they made it was like hero villain. This is why the villain's doing this. You have some sort of info dump on that. Then there's comedy and action in between, and it did well for almost 3 decades. So whereas with like DC, I think they were trying to they were too unconnected from each other. And James Gunn may be trying to fix that, but again, it feels like there's just a lot of creative clash between executive producer and director. So not sure. Hopefully they can kind of fix that. Um, I'm certainly no expert, but I know I've been in the comic book world all my life. Does that mean I can probably translate to a screen? No, but I know it would be able to work and what wouldn't, in my mind, my delusional brain.
Well, it's like they lack creativity, and you're not going to get that creativity by everyone trying to put their thumb on it and having it their own way, their own version, their own, the whole Snyder cut thing of the Justice League, which came and went. And I think what was the consensus? Like, it was better, but not by much. Like,
it was just weirder. Like they went into that whole Batman fever dream shit that he had. Like,
Jesus, man, just like, yeah.
Yeah, that was just strange. Like, and then Snyder puts it back on the audience because he's like, well, people don't like having their heroes dissected like that. It's like, no, you just write weird. You're a weird dude who writes weird stories. Like, and then you have to spend the next 10 years trying to justify your work that wasn't that good. Like, just admit that you failed. Like, your vision of the superhero failed, and move on with your life.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how he was allowed to go on for that long.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just, Hollywood in a nutshell. Like, why did they thought that was a good idea? Why do they think? There's always some discourse about somebody wanting to have control of what the cuts are, or their own ideas about how something should be. And it's anytime something like that comes out, like, it's not great to hear about. Like, media that exists out there that never got off the ground, TV pilots that never got off the ground because maybe some executive couldn't see it. But a lot more people up top making the decisions instead of allowing some of the creativeness to come through, which I get. There's more of like a balance. You don't want to have like somebody to have total creative freedom, but yeah, whatever formula they have, however many executives that they have, they don't need as many. They just need, better writers, more people having those chances, and just like better decisions being made across the board. It's not only like anti-consumerist practices, but like they keep trying to say that movie theaters are dying and this and that, but as bad of a movie as it was, from my well, I never watched it, but from my understanding, I mean, the Michael Jackson biopic made a ton of money.
Yeah, I think it's close to.
Obsessions made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like, there are opportunities out there to create more quality with also increasing your quantity. I mean, how many? Obsession was what, $750,000, and was purchased for 15 million. Is now making 600 million.
Right. Yeah.
That, yeah, you can really get. I don't know how many. There's probably a ton of projects like that fail, but considering some of these movies and how high their budgets are and how much they have to pay these actors, like, you could pump out a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched Hamnet, and Chloe Zhao, who, a little knock on, like, she did Nomadland, which won Frances McDormand her Oscar. I think Zhao has, I'm pretty sure she has an Oscar. But then she did the Eternals, so
Right. Yeah.
it was, kind of a knock on her. But then I watched Hamnet this last weekend. It was great.
Sorry, before we continue, her biggest inspiration when she was directing the Eternals was Zack Snyder,
Yeah, that's,
and it showed.
yeah. But anyways, like, yeah, good creative mind. Probably shouldn't have went on for the Eternals. Probably should have never gotten into that. Test their foot in those waters. But yeah, Hamnet was great. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if you've seen it, Brian, but to the audience, if you haven't seen it, it's like a fictitious portrayal of, like, history, and it's, really good. It's really sad in moments, but, you could, like, really feel, God, I wish I, so bad with names for actors and actresses. Jessie Buckley, I mean, she won the Oscar for that film.
Yeah. She Paul Mescal. Yeah. Paul Mescal was also playing Paul McCartney, I think, in the Beatles movie. Oh yeah, and then he was also in Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have not seen Hamnet. I know it was like in some way, shape, or form about Shakespeare, and I think something about the writing of Hamlet, or I think maybe that I heard that wrong, and maybe I'm just going off of name alone. But yeah, my coworker is like really into going to the movie theater too. Said it was really good, but it wasn't really a movie that's on my radar. Or something I would wait. I'll probably watch if it's on streaming. But again, that's part of the problem too. Is like, I feel like a lot of people my age, elder to mid generation millennials, kind of just are stuck at home. Like we're homebodies. If it was just the pandemic, or we're in that age of having families and things are kind of just expensive. I mean, it's for my wife and I just to the movies a couple of weeks ago was $40 between. Yeah, actually over $40 because both of our tickets, it was like $26, and then we got a popcorn and two drinks. I think it was actually closer to $50. So, it's hard to justify unless, like, for sure that, like, it's going to be a movie that you can without a doubt enjoy. And I think that's maybe the thought process, at least, for me and for people in my age group. It's hard, and I from what I understand, reading some certain metrics, is that they're a real big cause for why movies are failing, or is that the boomer generation, because let's face it, they're older, they're in their 70s and 80s now, just stopped going to the movie theater, and that was just a huge gap. Um, you know, Millennials and Gen Z are still going to the theaters, but it's not, they're not able to kind of close that gap. And then you add on top of just like kind of um lack of interest, and kind of just that quantity over quality kind of approach that uh Hollywood is taking, and streaming. It's just, yeah, it's hard to make it into the theaters sometimes, or um you know see something that's worth watching, and maybe worth spending that amount of money for folks. So I've been trying to take advantage of going to movies on Tuesday, just because a lot of the chains around here, it's, even if you don't have like a membership or anything like that, it's still $5, and they got like, I think it's like $5 with a refill popcorn, but also you're going to a movie on a Tuesday, so it's just one of those things. You gotta kind of got to weigh, just like every other sort of financial decision with your hobbies and interests. It's kind of just putting your dollars where you feel is the best value, and it's hard to kind of just interpret these days, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what you want to experience, yeah, movie theaters can be a bit of a cash grab.
Cash grab. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I think people have been burnt as well. People have been burned too many times on bad movies that they don't want to take the chance. Mortal Kombat 2, I'll fight, I'll die on this hill, but was worth going to the theater for. It was a fun movie. It did a lot better than the first one. I don't think it made as much money as the first one, or maybe it made more, but it was, yeah, it was a good redemption.
Yeah, I love that movie. Like, that was a movie I knew I was going to see, like, when it was announced, even if it got pushed back from October. Like, I knew I was going to see that movie because it looked entertaining, and I thought the payoff, because like it had like the side by side cam of like you're like watching or you're playing the video game, and they had the backgrounds from Mortal Kombat's that you would recognize if you play the games, or just even watching clips. Like it was just an all-around fun movie.
Yeah. And sometimes, yeah, it is up to us as an audience to spread the word and get out and support some of these things, because as much as not giving money to some of these cash grabs abound, anti-consumerist practices, like, it is even better to give money to some of these efforts and things that are made that go against that trend.
Right.
People love Steam. Steam has the trust of the consumer, has made it an easy access to get any type of game that you want that you're probably never going to play, but they're not going to take it from your library if you don't play it. Or like we talk about Obsession, Mortal Kombat 2, or some of these other things to give chances on in support. So if you want to see more of it, if you want to some of these companies to kind of halt back some of these anti-consumerist practices, or putting out these live action movies with no real creativity, we just have to fight back and put your money where you want the world to go to, not paying for extremely high cost concert tickets or high cost rent. Grocery is a different story. You can't really get away from it since everyone's charging more. But I mean, there's definitely more that we can do, and the people that have the ability to do something definitely should take that under consideration.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, about supporting like our smaller venues, like going to see concerts at like your local, like I don't actually think it exists anymore, like St. Andrews, or
No, that exists.
oh, it does still exist. Okay, I can't remember which one. Like the Crowfoot in Pontiac, or there's 1,000 different sites around Metro Detroit I could name. Supporting those and going to see local bands, or even bands from the local region, Midwest, whatever. Like media, especially music, travels fast these days. So I think word of mouth for those type of bands also travels faster. Maybe even avoiding going to see like big name comedians, going to support like even like your open mic. I obviously have advocated for this many times. People got to start somewhere. I mean, and like the local comedy scene, even now in Michigan, has grown, I think, tenfold since I did it. And I try to go at least once a month to open mic night at the local big comedy club. I've been to that place. I've been to like Royal Oak Music Theater. I've been to a bunch of like maybe quote unquote smaller to mid-sized venues to see comedians, and I've had a good time. I didn't feel like I was getting price gouged on anything. I mean, like I think like a pop was like $5. You know, I got my brother a beer. It was $10. You know, I mean, obviously higher end than just like going and getting a 6-pack at the grocery store, but the venues have to make their money, and you know, I didn't feel like I was gouged on that, and I overall had a good time. I didn't pay any secondary prices for these tickets, and we had good seats, and you know, like luckily like music and comedy is not something you necessarily have to visualize, so even if you have a poor seat, you know, you can still hear it and have a good time. And you know, those type of things, you know, for me, going to a comedy show just kind of captures going to see movies with folks. You know, it's like it's an experience in of it itself, and I think that's something that's really just kind of lost on us. You know, whether it's blame it on a global pandemic that happened, you know, prices of whatever the case is, I think we just kind of lost that as a society. And you know, it just seems to have reflected on social media where people are just kind of like attacking. Again, you know, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a government official. I couldn't tell you if that those things two those two things are correlated, but it just seems to me that we've kind of lost our ways in terms of like fellowship and, you know, wanting to have some sort of common ground. And I think like, you know, movies and whatever just maybe were the band-aid over that. Now that those are less of a thing, you know, you kind of see it bleeding over into other things, you know. um and you know, I'm not going to tell people not to talk to each other over politics or anything like that. That's each your own, but there's got to be some way of finding, you know, that common ground again of, you know, I may not agree with this person politically or anything, but like we can still have a good time. And um you know, like whatever, I think long of the skinny, I just think like that sort of um commonwealth and I guess maybe brotherhood, breaking bread, whatever the term is, of kind of coming together and you know, kind of forgetting about your troubles and not making everything about politics or, you know, personal opinion of things. It's just, you know, you have to have a good time. And you know, again, whether that's just cost prohibitive or um you know, lack of opportunity, I, you know, I don't know what the case is, but I feel like something along those lines, that's where the cohesive bonds have just kind of broken. Like the glue has, you know, become solvent. Like it's kind of fallen apart.
Yeah. A lot of it too, I think, just the enablement to allow them to do it, and we can't band together as a society to push back, um, as we're, you know, overtired, overworked,
Yeah.
and just trying to get through our day and trying to find, you know, some form of entertainment. But it's a big club and we're not in it, and they just all get around. It's like, yeah, we're gonna gouge the fuck out of people, and it's really
Yeah.
sad to see. It's like, you know, where do you actually draw the line? What do we push back against? And um, as much non-action as you can have. I mean, if other people are going to foot the bill for it, then they're just going to continue doing it. But
Yep.
okay, I think that's all I have for this week.
Yeah. Same, brother.
All right. Well, we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.